Right, hello, it's Galen again. Um, this is the map that we started drawing last time we were on, and you'll see I've made some changes. So what I did was, first of all, we said that the table was 4 by 4, and that would be a quarter of a province. So I was going to have 8 by 8, and to make that into tables, I've drawn these orange lines. So each orange line now gives me a table. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if the war game took place on that area, I'd have a stream with a marsh and a single building. The 1 means that it's worth 1 point. These buildings are a little bit bigger, or the farmland's better perhaps, because it's not so near the swamp. So they generate 2 points of wealth, and Witton is a town. So it generates even more, plus the fact that it is a harbour. So I've drawn a little fish, and I've done an anchor. That means it can repair and build boats. I'm also looking at the Dark Age version of the Ordnance Survey map. I know that the next 8 squares contain a little town called Ferriby, which is there, and that's got a swamp there. And then right over here is a cemetery, and when I looked up on the internet, it turned out to be a Saxon cemetery. So that, well, it isn't yet because it's Romano-British, but it's going to become a Saxon cemetery. So I'm just marked it on with the same symbol that's on the OS map. I just called it a cemetery. So what I'm going to do now is I coloured in the river, and I did this bit with a pale blue felt tip. I'm not colouring any of the map that hasn't been claimed. So you can instantly look and say, oh, right, okay, that bit belongs to somebody. Eventually it'll have map references on and things, but you don't need that for 1 square. I think even in the Dark Ages, they'd know where they lived, wouldn't they? Like bees. You know, people say bees are right clever, but all they really know is where they live. My dog knows that. Nobody would claim that Rollo was clever. So this is an area of marsh, and I've guessed that, and I've done it because the river sort of rises here, and I suspect it would rise from wetland. Maybe that corner might be a bit wet because there's a kink in the river there, but I don't know. It might be, it might not. So largely it's going to depend on what scenery I've got available when the game starts. So I'm just going to colour in 1 there. So 1 quarter. So imagine we were having a war game, and we're having it in my little war games room with a 4 by 4 table. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need to put the river on because it's right on the end. So we'd say this side of the table, that border is a river, which means troops can't come on there. If anyone's coming on from here, from the sea, which would be the east, coming on from the east, moving west, later on there'll be map references and so on, they'd be coming onto the sort of flat ground with a bit of a swamp there. Coming into here gets more tricky because 3 feet of that is swamp. It's only that foot there that isn't swamp. So they would be taking penalties of a different, it might be -2, -3, off each of the dice they throw using the Dux Britannarium rules. There's a building there, and a dice will tell us how many people live there. So I know that this ground isn't going to be very high, and on the Ordnance Survey map, they colour them in green, and the darker the green, the higher they get, and then eventually they turn brown, and that's high ground, and it gets darker and darker and darker and darker as it goes up. So that's finished. So that's what it would look like. This one, I'm going to do the same there, nice and quick because my hands shake and I can't colour things in. I'm going to talk about this in another, then sort of next video really, because I've heard some people on the internet saying all sorts of things about Parkinson's. To be honest, I wouldn't in the time of day, but hey, you know, ho ho, it's just me. So there we go. Now that's me. That's finished. So that's nice and quick, wasn't it? 5 minutes, coloured in a map. I now know what that square is, and I know what that square. I've got a rough idea what that square is. What I'm going to do next is just talk about some things that have occurred to me or have cropped up as I've been preparing for this video, and as a result of going to see some hospital folk. Then I'm going to look at some new Dark Age figures I've got just arrived, going to review them, and I'm going to paint them in preparation for playing this game. So I'll leave you with that view, and I'll say see you in a bit. Hand of Doom appears. Perhaps it's Thor.